Hello, vinyl community. This is Andy making my third video now. I posted some stuff that I was looking to trade the other day, some of which came from a lot, and I'm going to show you a couple of the, or at least one of the truly cool records that I want to keep from that lot today. But also, Kieran had said something about liking to see. Sorry, I have a cat trying to climb up here. Kieran had said something in his last post about wanting to see all of the records from a given artist that people had. And I had said on that comment that I'm a completist for Ornette Coleman. Now, I'm not going to show everything that I have from Ornette Coleman because I haven't digested all of it fully yet. So I'm kind of going to show you the ones that I've really digested. Some of them I've had for 2-3 years now, but you have to listen to these things dozens of times to really get the idea, I think. So I'm going to show you just a few of those. But first I'm going to start, this is Stevie by the way. I'm going to start with some just recent pickups that I've been really excited about. Some stuff that I've bought recently. So the first thing is, one of my favorite indie rock bands is Yo La Tengo. And this is the anniversary super deluxe version of their first Matador Records album, Painful. I think the first album that had the current trio of band members performing together. It's a great album. There's a ton of not B-sides, but unreleased stuff, and a copy of the first 7-inch that they released as well. So that's still available. It's brand new. I totally recommend that if you like Yo La Tengo at all. Now, one of the things that I got from that lot that I bought just on a whim was this Art Blakey record here. This is Art Blakey and the Jazz Messengers, A Night at Birdland, Volume 1, Blue Note 1521. This, from doing research, I didn't do any research before I bought that lot, but this is not the very, very first pressing of this, but it's still pretty early. The back has the classic Blue Note label with the 47 West 63rd address, Deep Groove, RVG scratched into the dead wax, not the stamp, but it's got the R there, so it's after they trademarked the Blue Note. There are versions of this versions with a different cover. That's the very earliest one with the Lexington address. Versions of this with this address, but no R. Blue Note. They change things so frequently. But this has some crazy playing by Clifford Brown. Just amazing. I was listening to that with my wife last night. Great shape. Mono. Listened to it with a mono stylus. Wonderful. I also have recently really gotten into a band that I never listened to but has a cult following, Sun Kill Moon, an indie folk band, if you will. I don't know exactly what to call those guys. But it's essentially one guy, Mark Kozelek. And this is kind of an interesting thing that he just put out this year. Mark Kozelek sings Christmas carols. So this guy is it's like, what do people call it? Slowcore or mopeycore or something like that. So it's really an interesting record. This guy has caused like an internet firestorm recently because he wrote a very obscene song about this band War on Drugs that I think is just a hilarious song. But this is really interesting. I'm going to play it at my Christmas party later this month when my wife has her friends over and see what people think. So that's cool. Get that. It's still available at independent record shops. He puts stuff out specifically at small record shops with different colored vinyl. They become collector's items, and it's good music. One of the artists that I discovered from watching a couple people's videos here on the vinyl community, and I'd heard the guy before but didn't know it, I didn't know his name, is Mal Waldron. Malcolm Waldron is his full name. His classic stuff is prohibitively expensive and hard to find, but I did find this 1971 Enya Records pressing, still sealed when I bought it the other night, of Black Glory. It's a trio performance, just piano, bass, and drums. Live, sounds like you're sitting right there in the club. The guy is heavy, just really heavy piano playing on this. I can't even really think of a point of comparison. But if you look at a lot of like the Eric Dolphy stuff, he plays Mal Waldron songs. He's on a lot of those albums. Really great stuff, and I'm glad that I discovered it from watching people's videos here on the vinyl community. Okay, so now I was going to just talk a bit about my favorite, or not my favorite, but some of my Ornette Coleman collection. When I did my introduction, I showed Shape of Jazz to Come, which is kind of an obvious choice, but it's just such a freaking awesome record. How could you not put it on there? And that's one of the ones that I'm always on the lookout for earlier pressing than what I have. I have this Rhino reissue that sounds great, has some weird little digital click at in Lonely Woman that I can't quite figure out. It's not something like dirt because I've cleaned it and everything. It's something on the actual pressing. So yeah, I'm always looking for that, but then I also just grab everything that has Ornette Coleman's name on it. So I kind of grabbed just a selection of stuff from, I think, of his, like, some of his different eras. I think I like Ornette Coleman because he kind of started free, like Coltrane or something, or Davis. Like, for me, I don't like the early, more cool stuff, or even the softer modal stuff always, but I really like it when they start to break loose a bit. Whereas with Coleman, he started that way, more or less. So this is one of the first ones that I picked up after Shape of Jazz to Come. I thought, well, why not get the one that was just before it? And so this is a contemporary second pressing of Tomorrow is the Question. And you gotta love the guy's play on his way of words with his titles, right? Very ambitious. Some might say pretentious, but that's fine with me. I think of this as being a very, a natural companion record to the sound on The Shape of Jazz to Come. Free, but still bluesy. And I would say the soloists are almost as free, but the rhythm section is still tighter, more in like a bop sort of framework. But that's a great record. I'm just looking for a first pressing mono of that, but this is a great one to hold me over. Next, and this is what I'm listening to now, is The Art of the Improvisers. So I'd say, this is a next step beyond Shape of Jazz to Come, in the sense that the soloists are freer on this one. You still have a reasonably tight rhythm section, but it can start to get a little loose, and start to get a little more free. But it's great. I mean, you can almost just put all of these records on a changer for me and just let them go all the way through, and I'd be happy with that. Taking it another step, the first one I'm showing, I guess, without so this is one without Don Cherry on it. The first one without Don Cherry, I think I'm showing you. Not the first in his history, I think, but the first one that I'm showing is the Ornette Coleman Trio at the Golden Circle in Stockholm. This is Volume 1. I have Volume 2 as well. I prefer Volume 1. Volume 2 gets even noisier and freer still, but I don't know if it's maybe I have a worse pressing. I have a 70s reissue on the dark blue label of the Volume 2, whereas on this I have the earlier pressing. I have a New York, USA thing, an earlier pressing, super dynamic, super live sounding. It sounds like you're in that club, even with the Swedish guy introducing them beforehand. I always love that on the live jazz records when you have some European person come up. And this is Ornette Coleman. Sorry, Swedish people, I can't do a Swedish voice. But that's a great record. Sometimes you can find that for really reasonable money. It's great. Now, still on Blue Note, but getting now where I would say the rhythm section has just completely become free relative to the earlier free jazz stuff. And I think this is the first record with Ornette Coleman Jr., Gennard Coleman, I think is what they call him, on drums. So this is trio with Hayden and his son, and Ornette Coleman's son on drums, and yeah, I don't know how old the kid was at this point, like pretty young. He's just going nuts. And Hayden kind of keeps up with them and guides him a bit. But it's really interesting music, not as, rhythmically enjoyable as, say, the earlier stuff from just a few years before. But this is getting noisy enough that my wife doesn't like to listen to it with me. But it's still a great record. And yeah, this is another one you can find sometimes. Sometimes you'll look and it'll be like $100 or something crazy. And then sometimes you'll find it for 15, which is I think what I paid for this one at a record fair. So I keep on the lookout for that. And I think that's actually a painting by Ornette Coleman there. I'm not sure. He paints on some of these. Okay, so I think he kind of went as free as you can imagine for a while, and then he kind of started exploring less, like more traditional forms of his style. And so one of my favorites, because it's so simple, there's not even a drummer on this record, it's just Ornette Coleman and Charlie Hayden riffing with one another, is Soap Suds, Soap Suds. This is on the Artist's House label. There's at least one more Coleman record on Artist's House. I don't see it back there, but there's at least one more. Body Meta is on there as well. Oh, I have Body Meta right here. Hey. And the cat just wrecked everything. I am sorry for that. Sorry for that. My cat jumps on things, and I've already gone for 11 minutes, so I don't want to start all over again. So enjoy Attack of the Giant Cat, those of you who are watching this. Anyway, so Soap Suds, super bluesy, super melodic. They're just playing off of one another. I love to just put this on late at night and just kind of doze off to it. It's still interesting. It still has, free soloing by Coleman, and Charlie Hayden is just amazing on the double bass. But really, you can feel the blues on this one. So this one sometimes you see for like $5, $6. Sometimes you see it for a lot more, but whenever I see it for like under $10, I get another copy. So I have a few copies of it, just in case, in case somebody wants one. Okay, and the other one, so the stuff that I haven't quite digested yet is when he gets funkier towards like the 80s, late 70s and 80s. I don't really usually like fusion music, and so that's part of why I think. But this is one that I have listened to a couple times at least. This is the Body Meta that I was saying. This is also on Artist's House, which I find the vinyl from Artist's House to be very, very good. And I like the sound of it a lot. I was just telling somebody at a record shop, I like a lot of the music on ECM, but something about the way they mastered the drums, the cymbals sound really splashy to me, whereas like Artist's House sounds very natural and organic to me. I like it a lot. This is funky. This is like free jazz, funk fusion music. Rhythmically, it can get actually a little dull, which is a little weird, but it's kind of like propulsive instead of exploratory on the rhythm section. But guitars on here, so if you're more of a rock person and you like fusion, but you want to get into Ornette Coleman, this is kind of maybe the natural spot to start because there's electronic instruments on here, and it's really fusion. And it's a 1978 record. This one you don't see very often. I think I ended up having to get this one on eBay at some point because it came up. So you might not see that one very often, but if you do, it's not extremely expensive. That's certainly worth picking up. And all of this, of course, is in addition to his other classic 60s records. If you look up, I got Ornette, which is one of the coolest covers that I have. I love that cover on Atlantic. That's a great record. I've got another one with a funkier kind of, I don't know what to say about science fiction. Have not digested that one yet. Yeah, Ornette Coleman. You got to get, if you see something of his, just grab it, listen to it a couple times. Eventually, you can start to figure it out. And I really, that's what I like about him the most. It's like almost like a puzzle when you're listening to some of this music. So yeah, that's my response to Kieran's request to see artist explorations. Again, maybe I'll do another one of these once I get through the rest of those Ornette Coleman records. But that's what I have to say.